Hey, Steeler Nation, what is going on? This is Big B, Brian Hanley, and this is Steelers Almighty. We got a good show lined up for you guys today, man. Obviously, we got some interesting news that happened earlier this morning. Cam Sutton, he is back in the fold. We talked about last week, what the Steelers DB room that they needed to step up, what it looked like. Apparently, the Steelers weren't that satisfied with it, so they bring Cam Sutton back into the fold. Next up, you know, what we are talking about and what needs to happen with Russell Wilson in the future. What does it look like if Russell Wilson plays well? What are the Steelers going to do moving forward? We're going to talk about that a little bit. Then we're going to get into some hypothetical trades. Look, all over the place. We've heard stuff about who's coming in, who the Steelers want, what's this, what's that. We're going to break down 4 possible trades that the Pittsburgh Steelers that have been talked about. So these aren't just rumors that are being thrown out there. These are things that have been talked about everywhere. Even one of them possibly was right there at draft day, ready to be done, but apparently one of the teams wanted more. So we're going to talk about that. And then lastly, but not least, we're going to talk about the defensive line room. We spoke about, again, last week on some of the things that the Steelers needed to do statistically to be better. Well, if that's going to be the case, the defensive line is going to have to do their part. And that's okay. The defensive line, look, there's some holes there. There's some ability to be better, but there's also some playmakers on the defensive line. So we're going to take a look at all of that, put it all together for you, and break all that down. So without further ado, let's get into the show. So the first thing, look, let's talk about Cam Sutton. Look, I think it's important that he's back. Obviously, like I mentioned before, the Steelers, it's OTAs, people. So let's not just freak out about what we've seen. But from all indications and what we've seen out there, it doesn't look so that the slot corner position is one that the Steelers brass are too happy with right now. So they bring back Cam Sutton. Now, talking about Cam Sutton, look, he was at Pittsburgh before 2017 to 2022. He was a Pittsburgh Steeler. Let's not forget, 2 years ago, he was the best cornerback that the Steelers had. He was much better in the slot corner position, but he was the best corner. He moved on, went to and got a payday in Detroit. And then, the legal issues have reared its ugly head for Cam Sutton. Now, look, it's tough for me, and I know it's going to be tough for a lot of people. Let's just be honest about that. It's going to be, if these allegations are true, it's going to be tough for people to get past what he allegedly did. The one thing that we have to keep in mind, though, people, innocent until proven guilty. Now, him running from the cops for 3 weeks, that's not helping. But again, let the legal process play out. And today, for the most part, let's try to just stick to the football when it comes to Cam Sutton. And if we're just sticking to football, well, he helps the DB room. I mean, we're better. Let's just not kid ourselves. The DB room is better. He can slide right in. Heck, he practiced. His first day that he signed, he practiced. So the DBs are better with him being a part of that room. Now, does that mean that everybody else in there, the Beanie Bishops of the world, the Anthony Everett, does that mean that those guys don't have a place? No. But we know we have Joey Porter Jr. Yes, we have him, and he is outstanding, And if Dante Jackson, if he is, again, we haven't heard a ton from him in OTAs, but to be honest with you, that's a good thing. It's a good thing that we haven't heard a lot from him, because that means guys aren't just making these plays over top of him and he's constantly chasing receivers after the catch. We haven't heard or seen that, and we haven't heard those reports. So that's a good thing. We're okay with not hearing his name a lot. But you slide Cam Sutton, and if he's able to start, which I doubt he's going to be able to start the season with the Steelers. Look, I'm not making light or even laughing at his legal issues, but he's going to get suspended. There's no question that he's going to get suspended. It's just a matter of how long. So we take that into account. But once he's actually in the fold full time, look, you look at everything that the Steelers have. Yeah, they're a formidable defense, very formidable defense. And again, Cam Sutton is much better in the slot role than he is outside, which is what Detroit tried to do with him last year. And he wasn't as good. That's just not his thing. But he is good at playing the slot. We don't need him necessarily to play outside every down. I like the move. Again, if you can get past the legal issues, and for a lot of people, you won't be able to. And again, it's a big ask. I understand. But just looking at the football aspect of it, Cam Sutton, he makes the Pittsburgh Steelers better. He absolutely does. Let's move on here, people. So we mentioned that Russell Wilson, what is it going to look like if he plays well? Well, that's a lot to unpack there, because I have been on record. A lot of people have been on record saying that they believe that Justin Fields needs to win the job because then he'll be the quarterback for the next decade. I'm still a believer in that. But it doesn't seem like that this is actually a competition. It seems like this is Russ's job to lose, per se. And you're not going to lose a job in OTAs. Russell Wilson's good enough. He's not going to lose a job in training camp or preseason. It's going to have to come during the season where he's going to lose this job. Having said all of that, let's take a look at what does it mean if Russ plays well. Okay, well, let's dive into that a little bit. First of all, what do we want to have happen? What does playing well actually mean for Russell Wilson? For me, I think he's got to win a playoff game. And because if he doesn't win a playoff game, and again, I know there's a lot of other factors that go into, how somebody plays well, because, he could play well, throw for 400 yards and the Steelers could still lose. Okay, I get that. Context clearly matters. But when I'm talking about, if Russ plays well, I think they got to win a playoff game, because he just plays average. Then how is that any better than what we just went through with Mitchell Trubisky and the baby hands Kenny Pickett's or the Mason Rudolphs? How's that any different? Yeah, I don't think that it is. So Russ has got to play well, and I think we've got to get a playoff victory. It has to happen. First of all, the Steelers just need that in general. But for Russ, I think he's got to be that guy. Now, look, there's going to be a lot of people that talk about, well, he's not that good. He didn't play that good last year. I think he played okay last year. I really do. There's going to be a lot of people that says he can't throw over the middle, and that was a problem. Don't get me wrong, it was. But Russ, he didn't have an awful year like people are trying to make it out to be. That just didn't happen. Also, let's give Russ a little credit. It's tough to come in and play for a coach that literally doesn't want you from day one. And Sean Payton didn't want Russell Wilson from day one, but they were stuck with the contract and they had to deal with it. They even tried to get him to take less money on an injury settlement. And then when he wouldn't do it, they told him they were going to bench him. And then they didn't. They basically messed with his mind, and he ended up going on a winning streak. We need to get that Russ that went on the winning streak. We need to get the Russ from not the year before with Nathaniel Hackett, and when he played awful. We need before that. That's the Russ that we need. We need him to play well. And maybe he's on his last leg thinking, you know what? I got a new lease on life. I got out of a place that clearly did not want me, and it's time for me to go play some good football. I believe that's the Russell Wilson that we are going to see. Now, let's look at what the contract situation is going to be. And what type of contract do we want? If we're moving forward, and how long does he have to be here? Those kind of go hand in hand. Well, if he plays well, I think he's got to be here for 3 to 5 years. I do. Because, what we just want him here to play well 1 year, and then all of a sudden we hand the reins over to a Justin Fields who never sat or never got onto the field? No, people, that's not what we want. If Russ plays well, I think he stays. But he can't just be a 1 or 2 year thing. If he's going to be here, it's got to be a 3 to 5 year deal. Yes. And I know what people are going to say. What, Brian, you want him to be here till he's 40 years old? Quarterbacks are playing that long. He hasn't had a major injury. He hasn't had an arm or a knee or an elbow or anything like that. He doesn't have concussion issues. So he's been relatively healthy. If he can stay that way, then yeah, a 3 to 5 years, it makes sense. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying we have to pay the guy $55-60 million a year, because I think that would be a mistake. But at the same time, if Russ plays well, I don't see why there's any reason why we wouldn't want him to be our quarterback for the next 3 to 5 years. And then we can go back in the draft. Let's take a look at a couple of scenarios here. So the first one, if Russ plays well and we win a playoff game, I think, yeah, we re-sign him 3 to 5 years, $40 million a year. And Russ is going to have to understand, hey, Russ, yes, we want you. We're going to give you a lot of money. But at the same time, we still got to build this roster. We're not paying you 50, 55, $60 million, man. And Russ may be at the point of, you know what? I've made $300 plus million. At this point in my career, I just want to win. I found a place that gave me a new lease on life. I just want to win. I will take that. Hopefully that's the case. Now, having somebody do that or not is a different story. But at the same time, if I'm the Steelers, that's what I do. 3 to 5 years, $40 million. Again, if he plays well. Second scenario would be Russ is playing well, but unfortunately he gets hurt. If that were the case, Justin Fields comes in. Justin Fields doesn't play great, plays average to below average. Steelers don't make the playoffs or get to the playoffs and lose a playoff game. Then what do you do? I still think you sign Russ. Now, I mean, we just saw Kirk Cousins come off an Achilles injury and get a boatload of money. I don't think you do that, but I still think the 3 to 5 years for $40 million a year for Russ, because remember, he was playing well. He just got hurt. So yes, I still believe that you sign him for that, even if he gets hurt midseason. Now, last scenario here, and don't kill me, Steeler fans. Don't crush me for this. This would literally be the nuclear situation, is if Russ plays average to bad, they decide, you know what, it's time to go to Justin Fields. Then he plays average to bad. Then what? Yeah, I think the Steelers, in that case, they would be looking for another quarterback. There'd be no reason to re-sign Russ. There would be no reason to re-sign Fields. It would be time for us to go shopping for another quarterback. Unfortunately, also in that, and a lot of people may not want to talk about this, but I'll bring it up. If that were to happen and the Steelers don't make the playoffs and they end up under 500, we're probably looking for a new head coach at the time too. Yes, I know, Brian, you're making clickbait. And no, I'm not. No, I'm not. Just think about this for a quick second, man. They haven't given Mike Tomlin that extension yet, have they? No, they haven't. And in years past, they've given it to him with 2 years left on his contract. Well, that didn't happen. And now he's got one, and he still hasn't happened. Now, it could still happen. I mean, this is the summertime. It's early. It's June. So there's time for that to still happen. I'm just saying, if the nuclear situation happens, I think it's all the way nuclear and they blow the whole thing up. That's just me. So we got a poll question for you guys. Let me just ask you guys this simple question. Would you rather see Russ or Justin sign to a multi-year deal after the season? Just simple. Which one would you rather sign? Please leave your comments, or please leave your answers in the comments, and we will go from there. But yeah, who would you guys rather see sign? Would you rather see Russ, or would you rather see Fields sign to a multi-year deal in the offseason? All right. So let's move on here. So all offseason, we have heard crazy trades, crazy rumors, all these things going on out there on who the Steelers want, who they need. Are they signing a number one receiver, a number two receiver? Are they trading for one? Are they drafting one? All of that stuff is going on all offseason. Well, now I think we've got some answers here to some of these rumors. Now, we've got some trade scenarios that have been talked about, and we're going to talk about them. And we've got 4 of them that maybe some make sense, maybe they don't. We'll ask you at the end what you think. Let's put this thing together and let's talk about it. the first option here, or the first trade scenario, let's talk about Cortland Sutton, from the Broncos. It's been rumored all offseason, even before the draft, that the Steelers were looking to get with Cortland Sutton. Now, for the Broncos, they have said, to their credit, that they are not looking to trade Cortland Sutton. He's asking for a raise. He's not asking for crazy money. He's asking for a 2-year extension between the $15 and $18 million range. That's what he's asking for. If he's got to be on a team trying to help break in these new quarterbacks, or an unproven quarterback in Zach Wilson, well, I guess he's unproven. He's just proven to be bad. Then he wants a little bit of a raise to be able to do that. Not the 25, not the 30, $35 million, just 15. And he's making 13 now. So he's not looking for a ton more money per season. The Broncos haven't done that yet. They might be talking, might be, into some considerations. But I think that's something that the Steelers would look to do. So having said all of that, let me ask you guys this question. As far as a trade and what you would accept for a trade for Cortland Sutton, let's look at a possible scenario here. If the Steelers traded 2025 third-round pick, and then they had to turn around and give him a 2-year extension for $18 million, would you accept it? Is that something that you would accept as fans? Answer yes or no in the comments. Let me know what you would think about Cortland Sutton. Again, third-round pick, 2025 draft pick, and then giving him a 2-year extension for $18 million per. Because remember, that's all he's asking for. He's not asking for $25, $30 million. He's just wanting a 2-year bump. Well, I think the Steelers should be able to do that. To me, that is the trade that we need to look at. A third round for Sutton, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Let's move on. Now, here's another one that's out there. Deebo Samuel. Now, the 49ers are looking to they've got to do something. Well, let me take that back. They don't have to do something, but I think they're looking to do something. And I know there was a lot of talk of possibly moving on from Deebo before the draft. Yeah, no, that wasn't going to happen. They saved $21.9 million if they trade him after June 1st. So you knew nothing was going to happen then. Do they still have that extra cap hit for over the 2 years? Yes. But this year, they would save that amount of money, which is a ton. Now, look, Deebo is a gadget guy. He is not your prototypical number one receiver. Although he's getting paid number one money, he's not your number one receiver. He's not going to be. If he came to Pittsburgh, he's not going to be the number one receiver. He is a gadget guy. He is like Cordell Patterson on steroids, because they brought in Cordell, and obviously he's going to do some kick and punt return stuff, but he's more of a gadget guy. Well, Deebo is that even more so. You can give it to him out of the backfield. You can give it to him on a jet sweep. He can catch the ball down the field. He can do a lot of different things. Heck, he can line up in the eye, dot the I, and hand him the football running downhill. Deebo can do all of those things. But if you actually look at his numbers, look at his production and what he does as just a receiver, yeah, he's going to be a number 2 guy. He's not the best receiver on the 49ers roster right now. He had the one outstanding season. It's been dipping ever since. Heck, he had numbers that were even, you could say he was the number 3, because if you count George Kittle, yeah, he had the 3rd most yards in their receiving core last year. Is he a great player? Yes. Do you have to pay him if you bring him? Yeah, you'll have to give him another extension, and it's going to be up there. Do you do that for a gadget guy? Let's look at the trade scenario here for Deebo Samuel. You'd have to give a 4th rounder for Deebo, but then you got to give him an extension, because he's going to want an extension, because after this season, the other 3 years can be voided on his contract, or the other 2 years. So 3 years at $25 million per. That seems like a lot for a gadget guy, And again, I'm not trying to disrespect Deebo, but let's just be honest. We're always honest on Steelers Almighty. We tell the truth. That's what he is at this point. He's a gadget guy with extreme ability. Maybe I should say that. Outstanding ability and playmaking ability. But still, he's not your number one receiver. He's not that. at this point in his career. Been beat up, been hurt a lot. So that's what you would have to give up. A 4th-round pick and then a 3-year extension. Let me know what you would do in the comments. Answer, would you want to take that trade for Debo? Moving on. Next, we got Brandon Ayuk. That's been one that has been rumored since draft day. And there were even reports that there was a deal done, and then the 49ers came back and said, no, we want more. Okay. The Steelers said, no, you can't have more. I'm going to be very honest with everybody. I like Brandon Ayuk. The price tag reportedly is $30 million a year is what he's looking for in his new deal. I do not. Let me just say this as a Steelers fan in a Steelers perspective. I think that George Pickens is better than him. I'll just say that. I think he's better than him. I think he's got more playmaking ability. And again, takes nothing away from Brandon Ayuk. But I don't want to pay him $30 million when he's not going to be the best receiver on our football team. And I don't believe that he will be. That's just me. Now, there's other people out there that are going to say some things differently. He had an outstanding season, but have you seen the type of production that warrants $30 million? No, not consistently. Now, he may bring that to you moving forward, but no, not for 1 year. Does that mean he's not an outstanding player? No, it doesn't mean that. All I'm saying is if he came to Pittsburgh, in my eyes, and I bet in a lot of you Steelers fans' my eyes, yeah, you would see, and he is not going to be better than George Pickens. He's just not. Great player means we would have 2 great players, but the price tag is just too much in the salary alone. Let's take a look at the draft scenario or the trade scenario for Brandon Ayuk and what it would take for us to be able to get him. Yeah, 1st and a 3rd round pick, then 5 years at $29 million. And again, $29 million might be low considering what receivers have just gotten paid. That $29 million might be low. Are you wanting to do that as a Steelers fan, Steelers organization, anybody that pays attention to the Steelers? For Brandon Ayuk, you're wanting to give up a 2025 1st round, a 3rd round, even if you made the 3rd round pick for 2026. Okay, fine. Whatever. Are you still willing to give that up plus a 5-year extension at $29 million plus? Let me know in the comments, yes or no, on whether you would want to do that or not. Then the last trade rumor that's out there. Look, I know a lot of people are going to think this one is not worthy, and I don't really think that it is either, but it's got legs. It's got legs. Treylon Burks. Look, at this point in his career, Treylon Burks hasn't been great. He's been injury prone. You could basically say he's a bust. Now, can he play out of that? Yeah. But he's been given some opportunities, and he just hasn't come up big, hasn't come up even medium yet. Again, injuries had a lot to do with that. But if you look, and when he's been out there, he's got ability. You see the ability. You see it. You see the athleticism and the things that he can do. Now, staying healthy, look, I never want to say that or blame people for getting hurt because it's not really their fault. Having said that, the age-old adage, the best ability is availability, and he's got to be available. But if you actually watch, yeah, the ability is there. So he's got to be able to do it. Having said that, we haven't seen much. We just have not seen so much to say how much he could actually help the Steelers. So if you take a look at that, and then you take a look at possibly a trade scenario, what does that look like for the Steelers? Well, a 5th round pick. Ooh, dicey. And then you got to wait on his 5th year option because you could wait it out this year and even decide, okay, has he shown us enough to where we want to pick up his 5th year at $4.5 million? To me, I don't know, man. I don't know. Leave your comment or your answers in the comments, people. I appreciate it. Yeah, Treylon Burks, 5th round pick, and then a wait and see depending on how he produces and how he plays on his 5th year option. Is a 5th rounder too much? Should it be a 6 or a 7? Leave all your answers in the comments. We appreciate that. Thank you, guys. let's move on here. All right. So, lastly, we're going to bring up and we're going to talk about this the defensive line. Last week, as I mentioned, we talked about some defensive statistics, things and places where the Steelers needed to get better and raise those numbers up for the team to be where it needed to be this season. So, by the way, go check out that episode if you haven't checked it out already. But for them to be able to do that, the defensive line has to be the key. Has to be the key. Now, they're never going to have big numbers in a 3-4 defense. That's not their job. Their job is to run stuff, eat up blockers, cause havoc, collapse a pocket. That is their job in a 3-4 defense. And when I mean the D-line, the 3 down linemen, the nose and the 2 defensive ends. So that's their job in this Steelers defense. Getting Cam back. Now, again, I'm not sure that Cam Heyward was ever gone because he wasn't. He just didn't show up to voluntary workouts. But having him back out there, I think it just lifts the spirits of everybody, the organization, the coaching staff, the players, definitely the D-line room. It just lifts the spirits of everybody. Was it ever a question on whether he was going to play or not? No. Was it a question if he was going to sit out? No. Having said that, he's still looking for a new deal. I know this is not going to be a popular stance, but I'm going to say it anyway. I'm for giving Cam a new deal. Stretch it out over 2 years, but I wouldn't give him anything over $20 million total. And I know people are going, Brian, you're crazy. Well, he's getting $16 million this year. Does that mean we're even going to sign him back next year? Or are we just saying, hey, Cam, here's your last year. Thank you. Goodbye. Or do we give him the opportunity and stretch it out over 2 years and say, hey, we'll give you this year and next year, but we're not going to give you much more guaranteed money? I don't know. And maybe Cam's looking at it. Maybe he sat out and he thought about it. Maybe this is Cam's last year in Pittsburgh. Maybe he doesn't play beyond this year. Who knows? All I'm saying is it's great to have him back. He's outstanding at what he does. But do I want to pay him more than $20 million guaranteed over the next 2 years? No, I don't. No, I don't. Let's take a look at the room. So right now, Cam Heyward doing his thing. The next, Larry O. I don't know, man. Look, I think a lot of people like Larry O, but I think we all kind of know the deal with him. He's in the wrong system. He's too small to be a 3-4 defensive end, and he's not athletic enough to be an outside linebacker. That's kind of where he is. You say he's a tweener, but he's really not a tweener. He's just a 4-3 defensive end. And unfortunately, he's playing for the Steelers. Now, maybe you can get by with that from time to time, but the numbers and the output just hasn't been there. He's not terrible. Let's not kid ourselves. I'm not saying he's awful, but at the same time, there could be better production out of that position. Now, you look at the other spot, DeMarvin Leal, I don't know, man. I like him. He's a Steeler, so we all respect him, but we haven't seen anything that just says, hey, this guy has earned a roster spot. And if I'm being honest, and I can very well be honest, we drafted Logan Lee. I believe Logan Lee will be able to take over his spot, and DeMarvin Leal, I'll be surprised if he's on the roster come Atlanta, come the first game. I will be surprised. I'm not going to hate it. I'm not going to be mad, obviously, because I want the best players to be on the field. But at the same time, just from what we've seen, that would probably make the most sense as the Steelers roster is getting put together and moving forward. Nose tackle, look, Montravius Adams, backup, played well. Now he's going to be a free agent next year. And you got to have at least 2 nose guards. You've got to have 2 nose guards. So I like him. I want to see some more, but don't get me wrong. I like him as the backup nose. He's played well. Holds center of gravity, holds the point of attack very well. Shuffles down, doesn't give ground on the double team, which is what you want. That's exactly what you want. Also taking a look at, Isaiah Loudermilk. Yeah, he's done it. He looks bigger, but leaner. People that have seen him in OTAs, a bigger version of himself, but leaner, in more shape. And then Dean Lowry, look, the Steelers we got away with one because I believe Dean Lowry could have went anywhere, and I shouldn't say anywhere else, but he would have went somewhere else, and I think he would have been a day one starter at other ball clubs around the league. And we've got him here as depth. So, yeah, I like what the Steelers have in the defensive line room. Now, there's, like I said, there's going to be some competition there, but I like the depth that we have. Can we always use more? Of course, you can always use more. But for what we do and what we need him to do, yes, absolutely. I like what we've got. And Dean Lowry and Isaiah Loudermilk as backups, they're going to be a lot worse backups in this league. And like I said, one of those guys is going to push for major playing time. And we'll see exactly which, maybe all of them. But I like what we have there. Now, before you say it, I don't know what everybody's going to say. Brian, you forgot Keanu Benton. No, I didn't. I left him for last. The reason being, I believe Keanu Benton can be a star. I really do. I think the last 8 games of last year let us know what kind of player he is. Now, he needed to get in better condition. He didn't understand what it meant to be a pro and how you go about doing things as a pro. But he was a rookie, so you wouldn't expect that. But I think he's understand. I think he's in better shape. He looks better. His body looks better. I think he comes in and he dominates the football field. Number one, we need him to do that at the nose position, to be a monster. Not just a guy that clogs up the middle, which he will do, but wreaks havoc. That even though you block him, he's making tackles. He's pushing the pocket back by himself. I believe that Keanu Benton has the potential to do all of those things. And for the Steelers to be able to go where they're trying to go this year, yeah, I think Keanu Benton has to be the star that not just I, but there's a lot of you Steeler fans out there that know. You saw him play at the end of last year. You know how good he can be. He just couldn't do it with sustained snaps because he wasn't in his best condition because, again, he was learning how to be a pro. Well, now he knows. And now he's going to be in better shape. He's got to play more extended snaps. It can't just be 2 plays, take a play off, then I'm out of the game. No, it's got to be, you know what? I can be out here for 6 plays and then get off the field. 6 plays, let's get out, get off the field, and cause havoc on all 6 plays. That's what we need out of Keanu Benton. I think we're going to get that this year, people. I really do. I think this guy's going to be a star. So to close this thing out, man, look, Cam Sutton, it's a real thing. Cam Sutton is a real thing. Bringing him back into the fold, like I said, it signals to me that the Steelers did not like what they saw out of, number one, their DB room as a whole, but definitely number 2 at the slot corner position. Now, it could be wrong. It could be that they just wanted to add cheap depth with a guy that knows the system and can play well. But and hopefully that is the case. But I think it's the other way. Having said that, I think it's an opportunity for the Steelers to be really, really good by bringing in a guy that is good in that position on the cheap. Now, having said that, got to get past this legal stuff. It's tough for me. I'll be honest. It really is. And I know there's a lot of you out there that feel the exact same way about Cam Sutton. I don't know how it's going to play out. The one thing, and I mentioned this earlier, the one thing that all of us have to do, he is innocent until proven guilty. So if we keep that in mind and let the legal system play out, let the league do what they do, everything will be fine. Let's not get into the back and forth and, because I've already started to see it. The back and forth is, we don't need that on our team. And you may eventually be right, but let's let everything play out. Because here's the thing that I know for an absolute fact, people. If you're not right and the legal system plays out and he is innocent of all of this or whatever the case may be, and he's on the Pittsburgh Steelers, he makes us better. I know that for an absolute fact. Him being on the roster not only makes the Steelers better, but you think about this. It makes the Steelers defense one of the best in the National Football League. It absolutely does. So keep all that in mind as we move forward. Again, thank you, everybody, for listening. We appreciate the tremendous support that everybody has given us so far. Thank you. Remember, like, follow, subscribe, all those good things that you need to do. I appreciate that. And we love everybody that's out there. Thank you, guys. We will see you again later. Aloha.